I analyzed 3,171 emotional eating cravings profiles using the exact same pattern recognition methods that I used when I was the chief of staff for FBI Counterintelligence. And what I found, it is going to completely change how you see your eating habits. And especially if you've been relying on the willpower and the disciplines and the diets and the counting calories, and nothing has worked. In this episode, you are going to discover the hidden patterns that have been driving your emotional eating for years without you even realizing this. I'm going to walk you through how those patterns form, how they get triggered, and how to break them so you can finally conquer this once and for all. Let me show you how this works because to my knowledge, I haven't seen anything like this in the weight loss space. There's plenty of great coaches out there and they can help with macros and creating meal plans and even the mindset stuff and the nutrition. But no one has this unique combination of personal experience, counterintelligence strategy, behavioral science, and decades of pattern recognition. My clients don't come to me saying they want a meal plan. They don't come to me saying they want to improve their nutrition. They don't even come to me saying they want to lose 20 or 50 pounds. They come to me because they want to get to the root cause of what got them here in the first place. They want to actually understand the behaviors behind their emotional eating. They want to remove those sabotaging patterns so they never have to deal with this again. So right off the bat, I'm not even talking about weight loss in a traditional sense that you're familiar with. It's about a long-term strategy that's going to help you achieve and maintain a healthy weight in a way that's predictable and sustainable and so much more effortless than all of the dieting and the mindset fluff. Now, to help you understand the origin of this, we're going to have a little story time. I want to take you back in time and just share a very precious story with you. And it all started with a jigsaw puzzle. Literally. Once upon a time, there was a little red curly-haired, freckled-faced girl who was obsessed with jigsaw puzzles. The bigger the puzzle, the better. And every day, she would perch on the dining room chair, you know, that half-sitting, half-standing thing that the kids do, and she would piece together the scenes of animals and oceans and skylines. But around age 10, something changed. And this ended up changing her life forever. Because she got to the place where she was putting together 1,000-piece puzzles. And they became boring, like really boring. And one day, she had an idea. She dumped 3 different 1,000-piece puzzles onto the table, mixed them up into a gigantic mess, and then piece by piece, she put them back together. She spent hours doing this and she was in heaven. And because of that, she discovered a gift that most people overlook. And it's this obsession with patterns. It's this obsession with the ability to see connections that where most people see chaos and confusion, she's looking at patterns and looking at ways to put things together. And while most kids just generally outgrow that kind of curiosity, she never did. She didn't want to just solve puzzles. She actually wanted to challenge herself, so she made it harder for herself. And she didn't know it back then, but this was the beginning of her obsession with patterns. And not just patterns, but the human behavior behind them. Now, fast forward a few years. This small town, red-headed, freckled-faced girl, she is now 17 years old. And she's a high school senior, and she signed up for psychology class in high school. Every single day. She just soaked up the lessons. She was so fascinated by what made people tick. And this was the human version of the puzzles that she still loved to put together. Now, one day, it was time to pick a research topic, and the other kids chose the predictable subjects. They did like famous psychologists or something like that. But for reasons she still can't explain to this day, what she did, she wrote a behavioral profile on, wait for it, Charles Manson. And this school paper, it completely changed the trajectory of her life. So while the other students are just writing their papers, being normal students, she's mapping out criminal behavior patterns. She wasn't interested in what people did. She actually had to know why. What was the root cause behind this behavior? What is driving this under the surface? Her teacher's name is Mr. Seiler, and he could have and should have shut the topic down, but he saw something in her. He saw a brain that was wired to spot the patterns in all of the chaos. He spotted a brain that has a gift for seeing what other people miss. And he told her, he said, when you go to college, you better major in psychology. And guess what? She did. And because of this high school teacher, because of this class, because of this assignment, she discovered her path. And she dreamed, this 17-year-old small town girl dreamed about working for the FBI one day. And this was actually 3 years before Silence of the Lambs even came out. But the only problem with that is, how is a small town girl and years before the internet supposed to figure out how to work for the FBI? And through a series of twists and turns, she did end up working for the FBI, which was a dream come true. All right, story time is officially over, but I am going to keep going because I started my career in Quantico. And I was in project management. This was 2004. So when you think back to 2004, the FBI is still catching up after 9/11. Congress eventually published the 9/11 Commission Report and the WMD Commission Report. Because of the work I was doing in Quantico, I actually got transferred to headquarters to help implement some of these recommendations. And I want you to remember back then, the internet was still pretty new. The different agencies weren't talking to each other. And the FBI had some pretty big blind spots with internal and external communications. So what I did in that role was I took these disparate pieces of the FBI and I helped to set up national security divisions and units and offices that were specifically recommended by Congress. And because of the work that I did, I was appointed the chief of staff for the Counterintelligence Program Management Office. And in that role, we looked at patterns and trends across all of counterintelligence. We analyzed the data and the patterns, and we sliced it and diced it every way possible. And then we gave our threat analysis recommendations to the assistant director so that he could make better informed decisions. Now, at the time, it was the coolest job on the planet. I mean, I was in heaven. I loved everything about it. I love the people I worked with. And I especially love the fact that I got to play with patterns on a daily basis. It was like my childhood dream come true. But here's the thing. God, as he always does, had bigger plans for me. Now, I am going to just totally skip over a few years and long past when I resigned from the FBI. And I am now a full-time health coach. And I kept noticing the same patterns as I am coaching women, how their past experiences, the authority figures, trauma, belief systems, it all shaped how they behave under stress. And especially with food patterns, especially with how they eat. And here's what's wild is that the same predictable patterns that I saw with spies and with espionage, they are the exact same patterns that I saw in my clients when it came to food and specifically emotional eating. By the way, if you're getting value out of this video, hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. Now, here's where it's all connected. The diet industry, it treats emotional eating like it is a willpower problem or a knowledge problem or a discipline problem, or just count your calories and eat more intuitively and then everything is going to be fixed. But as I'm working with these high-achieving women, I saw something that no one else was talking about. And the fact is that the majority of the weight loss coaches and nutritionists, they focus on what to eat. They want diets and calories and macros and meal plans, which, if you're struggling with emotional eating, this is the equivalent of picking out throw pillows at Target before your dream house is even built. And you're like, what am I supposed to do with this pillow when there is a big hole in the ground and the foundation hasn't even been laid yet? And even fewer coaches talk about behaviors and habits. But the problem with focusing on behaviors and habits is you already know exactly what you need to do. You know you need to put down the junk food, eat healthier, get more exercise, get better sleep. I mean, it is a pretty basic formula. So why is it that you are so disciplined in all areas of your life, but somehow you can't figure out how to make this basic formula work for you? Have you ever thought about the fact that there is something going on behind the scenes? Maybe it's more than just this eat less, move more kind of equation. Maybe there's something deeper going on. And when I kept noticing the same patterns over and over again, I knew it was time to go back to what I did best. And what I did was I used the exact same methods that I used in the FBI, the pattern analysis, identifying trends, identifying triggers. And I analyzed 3,171 cravings profiles, along with what I analyze every single day in the wild as it applies to emotional eating. And what I found is that for women who emotionally eat, stress eat, binge eat, whatever you want to call it, you are controlled by predictable patterns. Part of this is the patterns you grew up with. Part of it is just how your brain is hardwired. And when I say hardwired, I mean hardwired from a primitive level. This is the same part of your brain that when you hear a loud noise, you're going to automatically and instinctively look in that direction. Which is why no diet in the world can counter those ingrained personality patterns. I had so much fun with this. I was back to being that little girl perched on the dining room table, putting the 3 different puzzle pieces together. I was back to living the dream at the FBI and running pattern analysis. And I sliced and diced this data every way that I could because I wanted to see all of the patterns. I wanted to see how everything emerged, and I wanted to see how all of the dots connected. And you might be wondering, okay, Holly, what exactly did you analyze? It was data like attachment theory, childhood survival patterns, birth order dynamics, behavioral psychology, coping mechanisms, trauma responses, stress responses, sabotage patterns, and primitive survival patterns. Plus, again, my coaching and just observational data from the wild. And I created something that I haven't seen in the weight loss space. I mean, it may be out there. I just haven't seen it. And if it is out there, I truly doubt it is as comprehensive as this is. Because from this data, you are going to finally see the emotional eating patterns that have been secretly running your show for decades. And there are 4 main personality types. You're probably going to see a little bit of yourself in all of these, in every type, but there is one that's really going to stick out, and you're just going to be like, oh my goodness, how does she know all of this about me? The women who have taken this, they say their profile is scary accurate. Scary accurate is the word that I hear over and over again. One woman even said it brought her to tears because she had such a profound understanding of why she eats the way she does. So you might be wondering, okay, Holly, how does this work? Like, what is it? How does this work? What am I supposed to do? Well, the answer is very simple. And everything is totally free. All you need to do is take a 2-minute assessment, answer a few basic questions, and then you will receive a personalized psychological profile with your results. That profile includes a 20-minute in-depth training where you are going to uncover your secret patterns behind your emotional eating habits. And most importantly, I am not going to leave you hanging. You're also going to learn what to finally do about this. You're going to stop fighting against the willpower and stop with the diets and the calories because you will finally see the exact trigger sequence your brain runs before you even reach for food. And once you understand these patterns and the specific sequence that your brain operates from, you now have an entirely new and different playbook so you can conquer this once and for all. There are a lot of smart and successful women who stay stuck on the diet hamster wheel for decades because they keep solving this surface problem and they're missing the pattern underneath. But because you have listened to me this far, I know you think differently. I know you get it. And if you actually want to understand why diets have never worked and why you keep reaching for the comfort food, that is exactly what you're going to uncover in this emotional eating psychological profile. So I'll leave a link for you below this video. And be sure to pop back and let me know what your score was and what the most accurate part of the profile was for you. So thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Holly Bertone, and this is Weight Loss Forensics.